all set. That was good, man, but I want to do one more for safety.
Hey, guys, that was good, but we're going to do one more for safety.
Okay.
Aw, man, would you look at that?
Film incentives of Louisiana. What's that all about?
Man, everybody's leaving.
Look, I think we got what we wanted anyway. That look good to you?
Yeah, look fine.
I'm good.
All right, hey, good job, everybody. That's the wrap.
Don't pay any attention, you Florida filmmakers. After all, as your state legislator, may I remind you that we still have our excellent locations and our sunshine. Are you crazy? Don't you realize that we're out millions of dollars and thousands of jobs because we've lost most of our movie productions? That's hard to believe. That's true. Other states have taken most of our business by offering big incentives for producers to film there.
Well, we need to get those productions back. I mean, Florida has zilch for incentives. I mean, I want to work here, but, well, you're a legislator. Can't you help us?
I doubt it. Not in this economy when we're trying to cut the budget everywhere we can. I'd like to do more, but I'm afraid you'd better just be happy with whatever you may get.
Hey, we're shooting here.
Not fair. I hear that a lot of film production companies that were going to come here and film aren't now because it appears the legislature is cutting all the incentives that the film companies were expecting.
These companies are expecting the Florida incentives to be at least what they were in previous years. I mean, some of these people have already spent money on pre-production. They expect to get some of that back.
If we renege on our promises, they'll never trust us again.
And doesn't the legislature know that in 2007 it was estimated that over 100,000 individuals were directly employed by the industry at an average wage of $57,000?
That's a lot of jobs. And that's not including indirect jobs such as hotels, restaurants, caterers.
And don't forget that those jobs were created by the free advertising that movies give to the state tourist industry.
The Haas Center for Business Research reported that in 2007, the money spent on the movie and entertainment industry accounted for $17.9 billion in Florida gross state product, $8.5 billion in personal income, $498 million in Florida tax revenue, and 207,000 direct or indirect jobs.
And that's a lot for the state to lose if we don't get some help from the legislature. I think we all know this, but I just don't know where we can find the money.
A lot of my friends are having to leave the state to find work. Now, I don't want to follow them, but if I have to, I will.
Don't give up on us yet. What if we could increase the state film production incentive program without dipping into the state budget? What if we could do it with free money? Talk to me, I'm listening. All right. Now that I've got your attention, let's have a little history lesson. Florida used to be third in the nation in film production, right behind California and New York. And it brought millions of dollars in production money to the state of Florida. But those days are gone. Other states have passed us by. You know, Florida was a pioneer in filmmaking. One of the first films ever shot was shot right here in Tampa.
Film in Florida. A love affair that's been going on for over 100 years.
Well, like most love affairs, it's had its ups and downs over a period of time.
And that film that was shot in Tampa was shot in 1898. That's right, 1898. That was when Teddy Roosevelt and the boys came down to Tampa to prepare for the invasion of Cuba at the beginning of the Spanish-American War.
What did movie making have to do with that?
An early movie maker decided to make a movie about it using Thomas Edison's newfangled motion picture invention. And he had a catchy title. U.S. Cavalry Supplies Unloading in Tampa, Florida.
That's right. And they shot a second one, too. It was titled Transport Ships of Port Tampa. And it starred Roosevelt and his Rough Riders.
I hear that Jacksonville was a film mecca in the early days of the 20th century.
Could have been Jacksonville instead of Hollywood that had all the names and the stars in the studios.
So what happened?
Well, the city fathers and civic leaders kind of got fed up with movie making. It had a lot to do with the false fire alarms that were called in when a movie needed a fire engine to go screaming down the road. So, filmmakers fled to Hollywood, and now Florida is just known as a location state.
This is all very interesting, but so what? Get to the point, will you? How can the legislature give you money without it coming out of the state budget?
Now, why don't you just hold on to your horse there for a minute, and I'll get to that.
I hope so.
Well, when television came along, Miami became a center for both film and television. Ivan Tours built one of his studios down there in order to make such family favorites as Flipper and Gentle Ben.
Hey, wasn't there some kind of stink about some movie Burt Reynolds made back in the 70s?
I remember that movie. It was called The Longest Yard.
Right, I did hear about that. Yeah, Burt wanted to shoot his movie in Florida, but he couldn't get anybody to cooperate, so he took his production to Georgia, right?
Which made a lot of Florida filmmakers very angry. So they created the FMPTA.
That's the Florida Motion Picture and Television Association. It's Florida's oldest entertainment industry-based trade organization.
And the first thing the FMPTA helped push through the legislature was the creation of Florida's first state film office in Tallahassee, with Ben Harris as the first state film commissioner.
And then came Disney, and then Universal.
Both of them built theme parks in Orlando, and they both included studios for filmmakers.
And that's when we became the third biggest producer of films and television shows, right?
Yeah, those are the glory days, when production companies were coming in from all over the world, and everybody had work. Not like today.
Work and production money just poured in. And it was clean, non-polluting work, and it brought billions of dollars annually into the state.
Okay, I'll bite. What went wrong?
Runaway productions. See, companies took the projects to places like Canada, where the costs were low and the incentives were high. That's what happened.
Now it's even worse. States like Louisiana, North Carolina, Michigan, even New Mexico are offering such big incentives we can't compete.
Yeah, we're losing money big time, especially if you consider every single dollar spent on a TV or film production increases the gross state product by $22.
Incentives are the one thing that will save the film community.
Let's face it, if production companies can't get a financial incentive, why would they come to Florida?
Look, forget about the sunshine and the locations. They're going to go to whatever state gives them the most money, or give them a way to keep their production costs lower than anywhere else.
Okay, you've got me convinced. But how can our state representatives and senators help your industry when they can't even help the cities, the schools, our elderly, or anybody else? Right now, we're giving you the best deal we can.
We think that the best deal would be a transferable tax credit.
How would that work?
Well, I'm sure you got number crunchers up there in Tallahassee, but I'll try to explain it the best I can.
Okay, suppose you use 15% as an example.
Okay. Suppose a company filmed a project in the state of Florida and spent $10 million in the state. At the end of the project, they would receive a certificate for a transferable tax credit of $1,500,000.
That's not chump change.
Hardly. This would be almost the same as giving the production company $1.5 million in cash.
Instead of money being spent by the state, it's simply money the state wouldn't collect.
Huh? That makes no sense. Tell me how not collecting tax will help the state's budget. Right now, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel as it is, trying to find all the money we can.
Look, that $10 million is going to be spent 7 times over before it leaves Florida's economy.
Each time one of those dollars pass from one person to another or from one company to another, the state collects a tax.
You see, by not collecting $1.5 million in taxes from the movie production company, the state generates a lot more additional tax revenue, more than the $1.5 million it would have collected from the movie company.
The Haas Center reported that in 2008, the state collected $1.44 in tax revenue for every dollar that it spent in incentives. Now, what smart businessman would not jump at a return on investment like that?
The state would get nothing if the production decided to move to another state. That would probably happen if there's no incentive for the production to shoot here.
Okay, now I'm interested, and I'd really like to help. You mentioned something about transferable tax credits. What's that about?
That's the really neat part. That's how we get companies from all over the country to start using Florida again.
I'm still listening.
Forget tapping into the state's budget for us this year. Give our share to the schools. We'll take the tax credit.
Exactly. For instance, with the transferable tax credit, say a company from California who's not liable for taxes in Florida could then sell that tax credit to a Florida-based company that is liable for taxes here. Say Visionary Films from Texas does a $10 million shoot in Florida. They get a $1.5 million transferable tax credit. But since they don't owe any taxes in Florida, they can sell it to a local company, say the Home Lumber and Improvement Company.
And they make a deal to sell $1.5 million credit for $1,200,000. That's a pretty sweet deal for the Home Lumber and Improvement Company. They save $300,000 on their Florida taxes.
So the state doesn't collect $1.5 million in taxes from the Home Lumber and Improvement Company. But because the Haas report shows that the state will eventually collect $1.44 for every dollar spent once that $10 million is moved through the state will in actuality collect $2,160,000 in net revenue.
And that's a great deal for the state when you consider that the incentive is being provided with no money coming from the state's budget.
So you get it now? The production company has $1.2 million cash in hand to help finance their $10 million project. The Home Lumber and Improvement Company has a tax credit of $1.5 million and has actually saved $300,000 on their taxes. The state has spent no money, and yet they collect $2,160,000 in net revenue once that $10 million has worked its way through the state. And let's not forget the hundreds of jobs that were created.
And there you go. It's all done with free money.
I think I understand. Free money. Hey, I like it.
You do?
I do. And you got my vote. Now all we have to do is convince the rest of my colleagues in the state legislature.
So it's up to all of us.
That means everyone in the state that wants to save our Florida motion picture and television industry.
We need everyone to contact their state representatives and senators.
Do it today!
Works for me. How about you?